Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus, a fresh approach to community service. Settle in, listen in, and enjoy the voices who bring you reflections, musings, and stories from our community.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Chorus Voices. I'm Dan Minchin.
And I'm Lou Forster.
And today is a notable day, Lou, a sort of a happy, sad day, because the listeners will be maybe surprised and sad to hear that you're moving on from Chorus, and we're using this as an opportunity to pause Chorus Voices after this is our 54th episode.
Yes, 54, which is apparently, according to Judith, our interviewer and supporter, is a very significant number. So yes, we've got to 54, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't suppose I would have imagined that we would go for 54. It's been, I guess, 3 years and some amazing stories from around Chorus. And we'll come back to talk about, sort of wrap things up, I guess, towards the end. But today, Chorus Voices is about stories from around Chorus, the people of Chorus. We'll just kick off with a story, which is around, I guess, dementia, isolation, and some themes that we have returned to a number of times over the course of Chorus Voices.
So let's hear from Bill, who Judith went out and spoke to at our Ball Creek Centre, along with Andy, who works at the centre.
So, Bill, tell me, how does it feel to kind of help these students to learn English?
Well, it makes me feel enchanted. It's just a wonderful way to spend your time. I'm 78 years old. I lead an extremely busy life, and on any day there are 20 different things that I could do, but I look forward to coming and helping with Chorus because it's a delight.
And you could tell they were just hanging on your words.
Oh yes.
When you were talking, and
yes, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
But there are unusual problems with teaching English to people.
I guess you walk in and they have very little English language skills. So
yes.
how do you kind of communicate with them?
Well, I was 36 years in education, teaching and administration. All I can say is that with them, I pursue everything that works, and I step back from things that don't work with them.
You use a lot of visual, don't you? Like you had the newspaper and you're looking at the like the front page and we're going, because they had the Meghan and Harry story on TV last night, and you had the paper there, and there's a photo of them both. That's and you're saying, are they happy or are they sad? That's how you started the lesson. So Andy, how did you come to find Bill?
Yeah, first of all, I know Bill nearly a year ago. Yeah, and the first time I met Bill, he impressed me, He's such a gentleman, the way he speaks, quite gentle. And then Rasa, the Lions Bull Creek Cup president, invited me to join Lions Cup. And then after I be a member, and then I start to know more about Lions Bull Creek Cup. And then I can see this opportunity, I can do something, to connect, bring the people together. And then we have a few chat, and then we start to develop some program, I think because Bill was a teacher, I found, we got some customer, they really want to learn English as a second language. And then I have a discussion with Bill and also the Rasa, the Lions president. And then Rasa said, go ahead, why not? And then we just start.
And also, Bill, you're doing the English as a second language teaching, but you've also started another program, or you and Andy?
Yes.
Another program here.
You can see the sign that Andy has.
Yes.
So what does the sign say?
Forget
me not
Memory
Café.
Yeah.
Forget Me Not Memory Café. So tell me about that, Bill.
Well, this one is really intriguing, and the potential for good. Well, people with dementia tend to be like people who with no English. They're there, but no one sees them, no one knows them, they're isolated. It's a terrible disability. And the idea of being able to start up something local that would meet once a month with Chorus, and to bring people together. So that's why it's called Forget Me Not, because unfortunately they do get forgotten. Now, it's as much a social thing as anything. I'm absolutely enchanted with the idea of using music. It's shown to work. We've got a bunch of headphones and CD players, and thanks to the folk in Bali, we've got hundreds of CDs. There was a time when we used to get 100 every time we went there.
That's right.
It was a special deal. And no, we don't use them anymore, you know. We'd appreciate donations of CDs that people don't use. Ideally for me, it's exposing people to human interaction, bringing them out of their home. Their plight at home is worse than that of a prisoner in jail. You know, it's terrible isolation, and that should be broken down.
Do you have sit down, so it's a cafe, so you're sitting around a table together?
Yeah, well, we gather together.
Yeah.
And socialising is the main thing. People have been newly diagnosed with dementia.
So it's all age groups?
Yes.
So you range from like early onset dementia through to older people, do you?
But if we can get people who have been newly diagnosed together with someone who in a similar way and they can talk, then I think that's good. You know, it takes them away from this dreadful isolation that they live in. We've seen on television, I'm sure you have too, Judith, people with headphones on, and after a time listening to their favourite music, their memory seems to come back, and some of them can even remember the names of their family again, and they can remember how to dance, and their feet start tapping, and whatever. I mean, it's a miracle. I'd like to be part of the miracle. It's as simple as that. Russ is very good at this, and so is Andy.
Okay, fantastic.
First of all, thank you, Bill. You know, I don't know. I think from my lecture, from my lecture.
Yeah, I can feel that energy in the room here that you both want to make people happy, and you do a really good job of it.
Yeah, I want to help people. Just so simple. Yeah, I want to make people happy if I can,
You talked about peace and harmony, and I always know when I come here to Bull Creek, it's really noisy because there's a lot going on. But there is that peace and there is that harmony. You feel it when you walk in. It's amazing, really, isn't it?
So the Memory Café is such a fantastic initiative. It's been running for quite a while, and as you could hear there, Bill's obviously gets a lot from it himself, as do all of the people who are there. And there's a lot of evidence, as many people will be aware, that maintaining connection, social relationships, conversation, and continuing to engage in life, I guess, is such a great way to mitigate the effects of dementia. And Lou, we spent a bit of time talking about dementia, haven't we, over the course of Chorus Voices?
We have. We did 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2, because we ended up having a few great conversations last year or the year before, so 19 or 20. So we spoke to someone called Sarah and her mum Blanche. So Blanche lives with dementia, and also Sarah's grandmother also lived with dementia. So Sarah's been on that journey, as part of her life and her work, because she's a social worker. So that was a really interesting insight into a family's journey. And then Jason Bershan, who was with Alzheimer's WA, also came into the studio and really put that story of Sarah and Blanche's into context, into the work supporting with people with dementia, which he's done for over 20 years. So it was great. I thought it was really nice to have those 2 different perspectives on such important work.
The thing that struck me with both of those conversations, one was a real, a sort of authentic conversation from a family living with dementia, and Jason's sort of more expansive, sort of intellectual and literal experience of working in that space, and just the importance of some of the key things that make life meaningful, whether you're living with dementia or not. And Jason talked about the domains of well-being or something along those lines. And I just remember the character of Blanche and Sarah coming through in that interview, which just remind us that dementia isn't something that other people experience, and that they're at the other end of a corridor. We're all in the sort of human experience together. And they were really powerful, those conversations.
Yeah, the other particularly, I thought Jason did a great job of explaining it's not an us and them or those with dementia and without. It's part of living. And you made me think about that connection to people being so important. And during COVID in 2020, I know Blanche lives in a residential age facility, and of course, couldn't get in. And I know Sarah couldn't physically see Blanche for a number of weeks, which was really hard, but was able to see her across a fence. But I mean, all across the world, people have been socially isolated, and we also did that 3-part series on loneliness way before COVID and before the dementia episode. But social connections to others, and if we haven't got that, loneliness plays such a big part on our mental well-being, whether we've got dementia or not.
And they were both really so personal for you, I think, Lou. Obviously, I think Sarah is someone you knew. You went and visited with her and with Blanche, and in the loneliness episode, I think you did those 2-3 parts by yourself, and really went quite deep on the subject, which I thought was a fantastic exploration of something which is, as you said, probably before COVID was a hidden problem, particularly facing older people. And we've heard today in today's conversation with Bill and Andy about the impact of dementia and also language on loneliness. And COVID's really brought the loneliness epidemic to the fore, and the significance and importance of social connection. So it's funny how time passes. We didn't really need a global pandemic to teach us that lesson, but it's achieved that outcome. I just thought before we move on, we might just take some snippets from some of those interviews, some of those conversations, those episodes of Chorus Voices around dementia and around loneliness.
You realise that you're using your phone as a portal to avoid isolation.
I guess there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Sometimes respite from the world is a good thing.
A lot of people that I used to go out socialising with, that started disappearing, and then also my ability to go out, and I'd go out with friends dancing, and I'd be sort of 30 minutes in and I've got to go home.
So this word lonely became a word that he actually would, say to everybody. Instead of when people said, "How are you?" Instead of him saying, "I don't feel well, I'm not having a good day," he would say, "I feel lonely."
If I spend too much energy in a day, I will be in bed for the next 2 days. It's not normal. I don't have a social life. I don't have the energy to go out and socialise or catch up with friends midweek or on the weekend. And so your world becomes very limited.
My kids were very little. They went to the local school in the village, and the total population was 700, but most of them was outside of the town. And it sounds really idyllic, we would walk through sunflower fields to go to school and pop in and buy baguettes and things, but it actually was incredibly lonely.
I used to go to parks and hang out and try and talk to the mums. I was living on one of those cookie cutter estates where people would drive into the houses and shut the garage. I remember in days talking to no one but the shopkeeper. And I hadn't anticipated that amount of loneliness.
The research that's coming out now is really starting to show pathology change in the brain, probably in your 40s and 50s, before symptomology starts in your 70s. So in terms of a risk reduction strategy and health and lifestyle change, it's in that 40 and 50 age group that we really need to be doing more.
Unfortunately, she had a really bad fall out in the garden and sustained quite a severe head injury and was in hospital for a number of weeks. And during that time, her cognitive abilities had really significantly reduced to the point where the doctors had said to us, there is no way that Blanche will be able to go home, even with in-home care and that sort of thing. It was really beyond my dad's and my capacity to look after her in the way that she needed looking after. So the decision was made that she needed to be transitioned to a secure care facility.
So, today we've heard another story from around Chorus, a right here, right now story about Bill and the Memory Café in Bull Creek. And we've dipped back into their back catalogue, which has just reminded us and reminded me, Lou, of the ground that we've covered, the conversations we've had. And it is really sad to be taking this next step, but that's life, isn't it? And there's always more future steps and future growth to be had. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge you as not just the co-host of Chorus Voices, but for the leadership and the contribution you've made to the establishment of this organisation, Chorus. Seeing that through the lens of Chorus Voices today.
Yeah, or heard through the
microphone,
the headphones.
yes.
It could be another way of looking at it. Yeah, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. However, I do not see it as sad at all. I think it's been a fantastic experiment, because that's what it was to begin with. It's a 54 episode experiment. So no sadness from my end at all. And I was just reflecting back when we were talking about the 3 years, and 2 other episodes that will always stay with me are the ones when we met Lex. And I have met Lex in person, but when we did the first interview, Judith had gone out and met Lex, and we did that episode having just heard the story, and it was just so powerful. And our colleague at Chorus, Anne-Marie's absolute faith in Lex as a customer, and then going and visiting back Lex's story 2 years later and seeing the amazing outcomes that Lex achieved. So yeah, I will keep that with me forever. Thanks to Judith for doing an amazing episode and also contributing to this great 3-year journey.
And a fantastic, poignant sort of metaphor for how life goes on and how growth is always possible. And 54 episodes is a rich catalogue. We will take a pause at this point and reconsider where things are at in a few months, I guess. And we definitely have got that catalogue for all time. It's a real legacy of yours, Lou, and legacy of the people of Chorus that we'll be able to dip through. So for the last time, I guess this has been Chorus Voices, or sorry, should I say the last time for now, this has been Chorus Voices. And it's been great to chat.
It's been amazing. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for listening to Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus. If you like our show and wanted to know more, check out our website at chorus.org.au. And please leave a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and it helps others find us and enjoy the podcast as well. Join us next time for more inspiring stories and news from our community. Chorus, a fresh approach to community service.